Everybody who out there who's potentially watching or even coming in here later watching this, I'm Hardy Quest from Chapel Hill Quest Martial Arts and the Ninja Everyday. And I've got on the line with me my from another mother, Hakim Intoshi Isler from Fayetteville, North Carolina, who runs Elevo Dynamics, a dojo gym, a hybrid dojo and gym that's downtown in Fayetteville, North Carolina, which was the scene of some pretty intense activity over the last couple of nights. I saw some pictures of your space, Hakeem, where you guys were boarding up the front.
Yeah.
I wanted to check in with you, like tell us what's it like down there, and what are you guys looking at? What are you facing right now?
Thanks. First off, thanks for inviting me on Ninja Everyday. And as far as what we're facing, is really uncertain right now. There are all these different things happening. The government's trying to figure out, or the city's trying to figure out what's the best way. People who want to get the message out. You have rioters and looters who are not peaceful, trying to take advantage of the situation. And then in between there, you have civilians calling for, more and better responses from law enforcement and those entities. And then so it's a lot going on. I mean, it's just so many different levels to it that it's tough to just kind of condense it.
So I was seeing on the news that there was some stuff down at the market building, just a block or so down from your spot. Those that aren't familiar, could you let everybody know what that building is, its historical significance, and then what was happening down there? Like literally a stone throw from your front door.
Yeah, there's a lot of different knowledge on the actual market house. It's actually only like 4 buildings away from me. It's not even a block away. I mean, it was like super close. And, one of the big issues is that, slaves were sold there. So it makes it a prime target for, when we start talking about protests or discussions that are around anything race related. So, you had people that were coming out and they had this intention of wanting to burn the building down. And so because there was no, security force or police force or anything there, it made it an easy target. So not only was it a prime target, but it was an easy target because there was no security, there was no police force there. Then another aspect of this that might be a little controversial is that there was no positive leadership there. So what happened was that kind of set the stage or opened up a possibility that the negative leaders could really take over.
Talking about leadership in the protests.
Yeah, leadership in the protests, leadership from our community at that time, to really stop what was going on and or to direct what was going on, and that made it a little bit challenging. So just to be clear, I'm not saying that leadership was scared or leadership chose not to be there. I'm just saying that they weren't there. And so therefore it kind of allowed this thing to happen. And so in that process, people started burning or trying to burn the building down and really working hard and vigorously to make that happen. There were good protesters still there and they were looking, but I mean, I've had people say that, why didn't those people do something? And it's that fight, flight, or freeze mentality. It's like, because good civilians are afraid to be targeted by bad people. So if you're not a police officer or, military person, you don't normally have the training or the desire to go and stop a violent activity, so that could be a part of it too,
we've seen images on Facebook and on the news and stuff of people defending their businesses and that sort of thing, and it turning out bad for those people that were stepping into that crowd and ultimately being, gravely injured, or ultimately a couple of murders have happened. Was that a similar scene on the street where you were at? What was it like for the people who were affected by the demonstrations and by the protests?
I didn't see that. I don't know if anybody actually physically got hurt, other than protesters or rioters, that, when law enforcement came about. I think that anytime you have a riot situation, and that's kind of going back to what I was just saying, and then you have good people or people trying to step in and stop it, and they don't have backup, then you're putting yourself in harm's way. And that's not something that should be done, or something that I think is a smart move for one individual. Now if there's groups of individuals and they're trying to, police it, maybe, but, but that's why we're supposed to have law enforcement there doing what that duty is there for.
What was it like with the business community? Was it a concerted business community effort to put up the boards, or was this you organizing some of your friends and students? Was it organic? Did people just show up to help?
It was organic. It was beautiful. I mean, it was beautiful. It was organic. People just started showing up, cleaning up broken glass. They heard about what had happened, and then I still don't really understand where the wood came from. It was just like wood, just appeared, and people started putting it up. We weren't really sure how we were going to get all the wood up on our building, and one of our students and one of the people who works at Elevo Dynamics, one of the staff, he went to go get food and happened to be in the restaurant getting food, and a church group was in there. And they were like, "Hey, who are you?" And they got to talking, and he was like, "Yeah, I work over here at Elevo Dynamics. We are really trying to get, these boards up. Hey, you need any help?" And this whole church group with 2 Army engineers come over, and they like brainchild how we're gonna get the wood up. It just started, it was amazing. It was amazing. A few hours later, we had, everything boarded up and ready to go, and that was that. So.
Well, for those of you that haven't seen it, Hakim has a beautiful dojo. It's an incredible fitness facility that surrounds a beautiful, very traditional Japanese martial arts school. Did the dojo take any damage, or was it protected once the wood got up?
It was a blessing. We did not take any damage. I also, if there's anyone here that's watching, my phone was like overwhelmed with people who we had served, people who were my friends, that wanted to come and help, any way they could, with either protecting the building or just helping me secure the building, whatever. It was just amazing. It was overwhelming. So thank you to all of those folks. But no, the primary focus was the market house. And then when people moved down towards the police station, some opportunists took an opportunity to break out windows and things of that nature for some of the businesses downtown. There were a pile of bricks that were stacked up, that some people, I think the final consensus or nearing the final consensus where they were there because today the city was supposed to be doing some work on the pavement or on the bricks on the road. They were supposed to be replacing them. But since you had all these piles of bricks just hanging out there right next to the street, it made it very easy to just kind of pick one up and toss it if you were that type of person, And so that took place a lot, or several times. And several people's property got damaged, which was, you know, very sad and very unfortunate, you know.
Since the events that kicked all this off, since Mr. Floyd's what's now been deemed a murder by the coroner or the independent autopsy has happened, you've had some really eloquent posts that I could tell was very heartfelt. But you know, the thing when you put it up on social media, you sort of leave it out there, and you have an opportunity. People can sort of take away from the message by putting their own probably uninvited or unsuggested opinions to it. Do you have anything that you want to say? Do you have like anything that like what's in your head and in your heart right now with this situation and what you're facing as an African American today, as a person that probably works with law enforcement fairly regularly, as a business owner? You know, I don't want to put you on the spot and don't feel any pressure to say anything super eloquent, but I always love to hear what you have to say.
So I think, as me personally, I have a very unique take on this, and you hit a lot of the points. So I was, you know, an African American man. You know, I was in the military. I trained many law enforcement officers. At one point, I trained all the law enforcement officers in, you know, in various different aspects of self-defense, especially knife defense. And, you know, I am a business owner who actually owns a building downtown where these riots were going on. So I see all of these different aspects of what's happening and what's going on. And it's very challenging to help people understand, because we're such in a social media environment where you get these sound bites and people are able to kind of manipulate stuff, and everybody has a really easy graphics program where they can make a meme, and like then that meme can strike a chord with people. And then, you know, me having a psychological operations background in the Army, I can see some of these aspects. So what I've kind of taken it on, and I normally, you know, try not to get too deep, because again, it's very easy to get lost in it all, is to really create dialogue for people that is very clear cut about what could have happened and what is, you know, what's happening. And so, you know, some people say this isn't about race, it's about bad cops. Some people are like, this is about race. And, you know, one of the things that we have to realize as a people is that when a situation happens where it's a protest, you can't tell a person how to protest or what style they should protest in, but to walk or stand out or use their freedom of speech against a negative or something that they feel is wrong. That's kind of why our country is great, right? Now, a riot or looting is different. That's breaking the law. You know, I'm going and I'm damaging someone else's property. But if a protest happens and they're not hurting people or damaging property, because that's when it turns into looting or rioting, then there's two ways. There's a couple ways you could walk away, but two main ways you could walk away. You can condemn it immediately, which happens quite often. I mean, if we look at Collins' situation where he kneeled down during the national anthem, people just lost their mind. You know, I'm a soldier, so, you know, I really value the American flag. I value what our country stands for, but I also value taking the time to say, well, why the hell is this guy doing this? You know, what is the depth of what's happening behind this? And then to research it and try to find out. But most people just say, I'm mad, I don't want to hear it, that's that. Until it gets to a point like where we are now, where now it's just crazy violence and people are like, still I see people not trying to understand the point. As long as that happens and no one's creating positive dialogue, but just pointing the finger and saying, this is wrong, that's wrong, then it's not going to be an opportunity for us to really grow. So we really have to start having these tough discussions where we sit down and we say, well, you know, hey, you think it's about race? Well, why do you think it's about race? What are you feeling? Oh, you think it's not about race? You think it's just police brutality? Well, why do you feel like it's just police brutality? Let's try to have a discussion about this where we can both see each other's views. We might still walk away agreeing to disagree, but there are levels that we have to address in order for that. In this particular case, race is obviously a big issue. And it's a really tough thing to prove, you know, other than somebody coming out and saying, hey, I did this because I'm racist. You know, it's really tough to say that word. A lot of people don't want to hear it. A lot of people don't want to deal with it or believe it still exists because it's an ugly thing. And I think people, you know, we're trying to grow past some of the atrocities that took place in the country, you know, some years ago. And so, but if we don't talk about it, you know, is there. And we need to be talking about these discussions. And I think you, me, other people who own schools and facilities that are multicultural, we really need to take an opportunity to discuss this because we are warrior protectors. That's what we are. So if we can't start dialogue, I mean, could you imagine all the people in your school, all the people in my school, we just had a discussion about it, how much change that could happen, you know, if, you know, in all of these different schools as us being protectors, and we can get our, you know, our dialogue out there. So that's what I've been really doing, is just trying to do a non-judgmental dialogue. If you have something to say, I want to hear it, but I also want to stay on topic. And sometimes people have been trying to like change the issue or talk about other issues and, you know, hijack my issue and, you know, hijack what I'm trying to talk about. And I'm like, nope, let's just stay on this topic and let's just like, you know, really dig into it and see if we can come up with, you know, better solutions than we have been. So.
In the, I so appreciate your perspective on this, and I don't even want to try to follow up on it. I just hope that people hear it and hear that that call for a dialogue. Like you said, people don't want to face some of the things that are out there because they're ugly, but you know, racism is clearly real, right? It's clearly an issue, clearly a problem, and a lot of folks like to pretend that it's over with and done. A couple of comments that we've gotten as we're talking here. There was a comment from Louis Acosta that these piles of bricks have been found in multiple cities, where it's almost like, you know, there's some sort of element of inciting violence out of what could be sort of a normal protest. Did you see anything like that, you know, in your area? Were there other people were there clear divisions of people attempting to protest calmly and people trying to get it kicked off? And just so you know, you've got about 2 more minutes. So
okay, yeah, I saw people show up with gasoline cans, right? And that was huge. Now, you know, the person I specifically saw with a gasoline can was an African American gentleman. But then there was another guy I did see with a gasoline can, and I wasn't sure exactly what culture he was. But he was there, you know, and I saw some other stuff that looked weird to me. And there could be that too, taking advantage of this scenario. That's how destabilization happens. I mean, you can read a bunch of books of how we as a country, some of our elements have used to destabilize others, and then historically how destabilization has happened. But again, all that takes away or detracts from that issue of racism that we were talking about. You know, segregation wasn't that long ago. That's one of the things that I put out there for people. And anyone who believed in that mindset, you know, anyone who's a part of, like, let's say just a overt group, KKK, those people have jobs. They're living out there in communities, and they don't just post it on their Facebook, you know. So how do we know if this is racially motivated or not racially motivated? The only way we can really know is we have to dig into it, and we have to go in there and start saying, well, is this that way? And let's see if we can find some evidence And if we don't find any evidence, then maybe we can move on. But we do have to address. We can't just skip by that like it doesn't exist. That's the only way we're going to find that stuff, because this stuff is hidden now. It's very, very covert. There are good cops. There are bad cops. There are good cops. There are bad cops who aren't racist, and there are bad cops who are racist. Two issues that we need to be talking about.
Sure.
And trying to get to the bottom of, so that we can address both issues equally. But to just avoid one and look at another creates an imbalance. So there has to be a balance. The only way that balance is going to happen is through honest dialogue and investigation by honest people.
So for us to stay on brand, do you have a self-defense or self-preservation tip for folks during this time that you can give out in like 1 minute?
Yeah, a good self-defense tool that we use and what we do is dialogue, right? So a lot of stuff can be avoided if you just talk about it. What's happening now is because we avoid talking about it, right? So it's escalated to the next level because talking was avoided. We didn't discuss it properly. People felt like it wasn't being talked about. It was being oppressed. And then that suppression of that talking, it's created where people felt oppressed. That oppression has caused people to lash out physically, because it wasn't discussed. So self-defense tool number one, use your voice, right? So that would be the thing that I would, use your voice, that I would leave.
I'd love to encourage from the other perspective too, if we could all use our ears as well and hear what everybody's saying. We got 2 ears and 1 mouth, right? We should listen twice as much as we should talk, and that goes for me. That's a reminder for me. Hey, I can just tell, but I'm glancing over at the comments that we're getting. Dude, everybody is real appreciative of you taking this time and speaking from the heart and being honest. And I'm real appreciative to talk to you. Is there a couple places we could find you online if people are, say somebody new is watching, they don't know, I don't know how somebody would know who Hakim Isler is, but if they don't, how do they find you on Facebook and Instagram and stuff like that?
Yeah, if you want to find me on my website, Hakim-Isler. My name, Hakim, is spelled HAKIM-Isler, ISLER.com. You can find me on Facebook with Hakim Isler. I'll pop up, and the same thing with Instagram. You'll find me on both of those. My nickname is the Black MacGyver, so people know me as that. You can find me under that moniker as well. So all those different aspects are ways that you can find me. I would love to have a discussion with you. I'd love to talk openly with you. You can ask me anything. I'm not going to be upset with you. So feel free to reach out.
Well, brother, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you taking your time. I love you. I miss you. I can't wait to get on the mat with you and train. I look forward to seeing you soon. Please stay safe down there. And if there's anything that me or we in our school or us in our broader To-Shin community can do for you in this time, let us know.
All right. Thank you.
All right. All right, Ninja Nation, thanks for tuning in. This was a great first go. We had 22 people watching right now, and we were up to like 30, so that was awesome. We'll be coming back with some more of this with Hakim and several of my other friends, but peace.